Let's do this. Well, it's basically like being Jason Bourne, but with fighter planes, you know. So it's like this sort of like James Bond list. I think the most relevant thing that's happened to me in the past year is the necessity to keep a growth mindset, and the realization that if I want to go and be a rescue medic or something like that, then I can go and do that. I think it's very sometimes it's something that people forget, that actually even if you're incredibly old like me, you can go out and reinvent yourself on a regular basis. Well, you can't, it's as tall as it is wide, right? You can't get around it. I think it's got to have been the election of Trump and Brexit being second. It's really difficult to have any form of sensible discussion about pretty much anything without it coming back to the current president. So that in the short term. I think in the longer term, however, I think in 10 years time or 20 years time, when we look back on this era, weirdly, I think the two most important things that will have happened this year will have been the storms that are happening in the Caribbean, and I think it'll be Amazon buying Whole Foods. I think that Amazon buying Whole Foods was the next evolutionary step in digitally enabled business models, and I think we're about to see a real revolution in that industry in America, and what happens there will happen over here. It's whatever I happen to be doing. So I work really as a consultant for companies and individuals and events like this one, and some governments, where I try to talk to people about the way the world is going to be in the next few years. It's partly a matter of traveling an awful lot and being around the world and seeing the patterns repeat themselves. So lots of things happen earlier in one country and later in another. So that's easy. But it's also it's also imagination that I can with my experience and knowledge, I can say, well, I think it's going in this direction. And even if I'm not right, I'm hopefully wrong in an interesting way. What we're about to see is the counter-revolution to the digital revolution. I think there's an awful lot of stuff, especially in communications, which has swung very much to the digital, and it's kind of the time for some of it to swing back, whether that's a change in the marketplace or a change in social attitudes towards these technologies. There's going to be a social backlash against a lot of digital communications techniques because of the increasing understanding of how they can be misused by bad people. The question I'm constantly asking myself at the moment is, can I be doing more? Am I being lazy here? Because I am slightly worried all the time that I'm not being awesome enough. You know, that's a terrible way of putting it, but like, am I generating enough cool stories? Like, to me, that's the interesting thing. I'm not particularly, you know, being paid is really good because it enables you to do cool things, but if I wanted to be rich, I go and work for a venture capitalist or something like that. What I want to have is, you know, a life where I live in LA and then I come to Berlin and we have interviews in the backs of cars driving through Berlin. It's nice, right? So it's a question of, am I doing enough cool stuff? I should call, but I usually write. Oh, social media. Future, always. Definitely a handy. know, it depends. How much have we drunk at this point? I like both. But here in Berlin, currywurst, right? Yeah, because you can get Döner anywhere.
No, Döner is a Berlin speciality.
There are plenty of cities who'll fight you about that, but nobody else will fight you about currywurst.
It was invented in Berlin.
Was it?
Really?
Really?
Yes, by the Turkish people in Berlin.
Wasn't it invented in Turkey?
No.
By the Turkish people
they have
of Turkey?
kebab.
They have kebab. Okay,
Yeah,
Döner.
Döner is from Berlin.
Okay. Then I would say
The myth.
I'll say Döner then.